This is Jonathan JG Smooth Goodo, joined by my co-host, former UCO All-MIAA H-back Daunte McGee. We're here, third episode of the Weekly Cho. Thank you for tuning in, whatever time you might be. Dante and I, I think we both before we went on air kind of shared the same sentiment here of like we won the football game, which at the end of the day is really all that matters. However, how we win the football game was not impressive. So I'll open the floor to you. What were your initial thoughts after the conclusion of Saturday's 34-28 win over Washburn?
I'll start with the positives. I think the way that we ended the game, we got the stop on defense, forced a punt, and then the offense just absolutely chewed clock up. So I think that was definitely a big positive to have and to show that, even though we're in the lead, we can still take care of the ball, chew clock up, keep progressing, and gaining first downs, and just honestly holding on to the ball and not giving them a chance to try to come back and score again or do anything. So I feel like that was a pretty big plus and takeaway is how we ended the game both offense and defensively. But just overall for the game, kind of like I told you, it felt a little underwhelming, not because we won a close game, but there were just points in the game where I felt as though we could take a step and separate in the game and really like make a stand and like, really make a statement within the game. And it didn't really happen. Just looking out on the field, there were some people having to step up and play some big time minutes in the game due to injuries and what have you. And I think all those guys that had to step up did a pretty good job. I feel like the tight ends with Don McDunn and Andrew Carney being down. Joey Javier was playing some big time minutes, and I feel like he played pretty well as well. But just throughout the course of the game, it just felt as though there are times where we need to make the play or times where we needed to, get off the field on defense and something would happen, they get a first down or, we don't progress with our drive that we had. So at the end of the day, like you said, you definitely want to get the win and however you get the win is however you get it. But if we're going to look at it objectively and just speak truthfully, there are definitely things to correct from that game. And I do think that had we played a better team, it probably would have been a different outcome.
Yeah, and when Coach talked to me post game, he pretty much mentioned that was like if we had played almost anybody else, this would have been a loss. And even I said in the recording, we got very lucky that Washburn at this time offensively is just not a good football team. They can't run the football. I think we saw that. And they had like 60 yards rushing. We had 4 sacks in the game. So I mean, really, really, and I give our defense credit because they came into the game. They had negative 14 yards rushing on the season. So I mean, they left with like 46. We gave them their 21st sack of the season. So like from that standpoint, I feel like we did good. But like you said, there was third downs. And to me, what's crazy is if you just look at the box score, you would think we had a really good football game, but when you watch it, it's nowhere near that. Like I felt weird saying like, now we had like 220 yards rushing, but this was the worst rushing performance of the season. And you're probably saying that someone's hears it and it's like, well, how is that possible? They're over 200 yards. But it was the way we had the 200 yards. I think if I look at the numbers, Jalen Cottrell only had 77 yards on 17 carries. Like, what? Why is that a thing? Washburn came into the game allowing 250 a game rushing. So why do you think we saw the it's funny to say saw the struggles in the ground game the way we did against Washburn compared to how we ran the ball against Permian Basin and Pitt State?
It's a bit tricky, and I think it's a combination of a different answers because from a town standpoint, would I say that they were better than a Pittsburgh State or a Permian Basin team? No. But that's one of the things with football is not just solely based on the measurables or how talented you can be. It comes down to making plays, and I felt as though they probably played as good of a game against our running backs as far as balling them up and not just letting them have so many chunk plays and so many explosive plays as the other teams have, especially from the three backs that we have and the abilities that they've shown in the season already. So I think it's a combination of, Washburn scouting, the defensive line, just players playing the role and not getting outside their gaps and just letting the plays come to them. And I mean, I give them credit. They brought it this game, and it was not an easy game. I think that people might have thought coming off the Pittsburgh State win that we'll start to see the team really progress and start to handle teams. But again, that's just the statement of the MIAA is like every game matters. You can't overlook anyone. And I don't want to say the players, we're overlooking Washburn, but when you do kind of watch and see things unfold, I think Washburn played way better than people expected them to, and I think that just shows that how tough this conference is, and you can't take anyone lightly.
And I wasn't necessarily surprised that Washburn gave us a game just based off last year. It was a 2-win Washburn team that nearly beat us if it wasn't for a block kick. Now, obviously, to me, that was a better Washburn team. They had like 5-6 one-score losses. They had really good playmakers, right? I felt like this Washburn team, and it was weird because I went on the field before the game, and I'm looking at them like, I don't know how this team is putting up the numbers it's putting up, because I'm not seeing like a physically overmatched team. Like, as you saw, they had size in the trenches, they had length out wide. I thought their quarterbacks were solid. I mean, again, I know they're kind of one dimensional with lack of a ground game, but I'm sitting there confused. Like, how was the numbers this bad? And I think we kind of saw, at times maybe offensively why that's the case, because we just overmatched them. I feel like in the trenches there on the defensive side of the football. But I noticed the thing that hurt us too was turnovers. Because if you look at the fact Washburn only had one touchdown that didn't come on a short field. And obviously we can't afford to do that in really any game. But especially going up there in Marysville on Saturday, feel like if we do the same thing, we're probably going to lose that football game. What kind of are your thoughts on that? Do you think we'll see a reduction in turnovers, given that this was Clayton Creasy's first start? Do you expect him to have a cleaner game up there? Kind of what are your thoughts on the turnovers?
So it really is going to depend on how well he handles the pressure. I said last time that we talked, with teams knowing how young he is and the lack of experience that he does have, I can guarantee almost every single third down he's probably going to be getting pressure. And he just needs to understand going into this game, he is going to have to take a couple on the chin to be able to deliver a strike to a receiver or being able to make his reads. And maybe sometimes that means he has to get pull the ball and get a 1, 2, 3 yard gain and maybe get stung a little bit. But it's really going to come down to how he responds to the negativity that happens in the game, but then also just having the mindset of like he is going to get hit this game. So with that being said, if he can manage that stuff and just be able to get the ball to his playmakers, I feel like we'll still have success because again, the three backs that we have in the backfield, Ashton Schumann, I felt like had a pretty good game, and I think that with him, the targets that he has, I think he is gonna. It seems like he's gonna have to be that receiver that gets a lot of targets. Considering you have Donnie Dunn and then Andrew Carney, who are out with injuries right now, so really, I think it's going to come down to that, getting Ashton Schumann his touches, so that way we can keep people honest with our passing game. And then offensive line, tight ends, everyone included, really dialing in on the run game because, that's one thing that Northwest Missouri is known for is their defensive line. So, I mean, this is a game that in the trenches, this is where it's going to be won, is because whoever is able to win the line of scrimmage, I feel like is going to be able to win the game, like point blank period.
Yeah, and we won that last year, and I think we didn't. You good?
Yeah, my phone fell. I was like, what happened?
we, we we didn't run the ball particularly well against Northwest last year. However, we did throw for like almost 400 yards in that football game. And it's very tough to beat Northwest one dimensional. I know you could say Northwest was down last year. We got them at home. Now Coach Doro, when I asked him about what this team got to do differently, he mentioned handling the hostile environment. Now you played a few times in Marysville. From a player's perspective, what is that environment like up there?
Um, I would say that would probably be one of the top places to play it as far as like atmosphere. Like, really, I feel like they're one college town. They get behind the team because I mean they've been successful for so many years, so it's kind of easy to. But yeah, it was very interesting going and playing there. I will say we really did not have that greater success the times that I played there, so I can't really speak on too much. But one of the most disrespectful things that happened to me happened in at Marysville, and we were already losing. It was bad. We go to rain delay, and so we were on rain delay for like 2 or 3 hours, and then we come back and we're still not playing good at all, and it just got worse and worse. And me and Johnny Brazil were sitting next to each other, and they pulled up on their jumbo screen. There's like a Mortal Kombat character, and they selected their Bearcat, and they put like our Bronco head, like some random character, pieced us up in Mortal Kombat, and then hit a fatality on us, and then it's just like Bearcats win. And me and Johnny were sitting right next to each other because we play Mortal Kombat, we have for years, and we're like, "Hey, man, that was probably the most disrespectful thing we've seen happen." But that was kind of clean. We'll give credit where credit's due, and we were already losing pretty bad that game, but it just made it that worse. But I mean, typically over the years, it's been rough playing up there. Usually, other than the last two times that UCO has won against them, really haven't had too much success up there anyway. So um, it'll be an interesting game. I think that if they dial in this week and really get to start to establish who they are as a offense and just as a team, period, that they can come out of there with a win.
Well, and that's something that Doro had mentioned offensively that they're still trying to find their three best receivers. He mentioned they moved Ashton Schumann into the slot during the bye week. I think we saw that pay off because I wasn't surprised he had the slow start again. I mean, I feel like if anybody just turned on the film from last year and noticed the only major returning receiver was number 15, you're going to cover him. But I thought we saw one of maybe it was his best game we've seen out of Ashton Schumann so far. I mean, the way he was willing to fight for extra yards, the way he read the blocks well, he found the holes in the zone. If he can continue to do this, that's obviously a positive sign. But I said we still need more from other guys. I feel like we have a catch here and there, right? Like Hagen Hacker had the big touchdown, but that was the only catch he had. Javon Thomas had the nice sideline catch. That's the only catch that he had. Being a tight end, kind of being a passing option. How do you go about um helping out your quarterback in times like that, or helping out when one man seems to be the main focus? How do you kind of pitch in and try to alleviate some of that pressure off of
I think it just comes down to being brutally honest with yourself as an individual, but then also being honest with your quarterback, and just knowing that everyone has to play their roles. And I think wide receiver wise, we're still trying to figure out where people's roles fit in at. And I think you seen last year with Ashton Schumann, he wasn't the number one primary target. You could say him and Delso were like 2A, 2B, maybe 2 and 3, however you want to look at it. But with him being really the main return that we have, he's kind of thrust into that role of being the number one target. And I think that he can do that and he has the ability to. But that just means that when you're the number one target, the balls coming your way are going to be even more limited because they're going to double team you. They're going to key in on you all the time. So the way that I think Ashton can get open more is by Creasy spreading the wealth around and starting to distribute the ball to all these different targets. And even though it hasn't been shown yet, that's where when the others come in, it's like, okay, hey, listen, We know that Ashton's going to get his, but when it's my turn to get mine, I need to make myself as available as I can to the quarterback. If that means, hey, I might have to run into an ouch, but I hold on to the ball. That builds confidence with your quarterback too, but then also within yourself that hey, like I can catch in traffic. Sometimes it's hey, I just catch the ball and it's a little 2, 3, 4 little catch or whatever, and it's like you just have to be able to understand your role and not expect too much because given the situation I'm in, you can't you can't start to get too selfish, but you're also at that point where you're really want to have success and you want to break out. It's like that's when you really just need to have togetherness and come together and just be like, hey, here's what we need people to do for this team to be successful. Can you get it done? And if not, we need to get someone else that can get it done. And I think especially with who we're playing this weekend, I mean, this is going to be a gut check, especially for the receiver group, and I think that this is a chance for people to rise to the occasion, or kind of take a backseat and just kind of see how it happens. But if we do see guys rise to the occasion, I think you're going to see this offense explode because now maybe teams aren't able to key in with the run game as much and stack the box, or now we're able to keep more teams honest because maybe we'll have a deep ball threat, or just creating more options for the quarterback to throw the ball with people that he feels comfortable in and who he trusts.
And I also think, maybe if we get Trell more involved in the pass game again, I mean, he did have 7 catches for 80 yards. I mean, we can't really forget about the impact that he provides being a former receiver. But also, you mentioned helping Clayton out. Were you as surprised as I was about that the sequence of plays on the opening drive where I'm guessing that was going to be a handoff that was fumbled, but then after that to have two straight passes kind of bagged up in the shadow of our own end zone. Were you kind of surprised that we didn't try a run after that and really put Clayton in that position early where as we saw, a mistake was made, and Washburn was able to capitalize off that and take the lead in the game and take some early momentum. Were you kind of surprised about that opening drive sequence?
I would say I wouldn't have predicted that to be how we started the game out, but I think that again, I don't know what was called or what their thinking behind it was, but in my opinion, I felt like he threw the ball because he felt as though they're going to anticipate the run, and so we could maybe have a one-on-one matchup or maybe a chance where, hey, if he catches this and then breaks one tackle, now we just relieve some pressure because we're not backed up in our end zone versus a run where everyone has to be matched up on the blocks and then make 2, 3 people miss and then break one out. So I felt like the logic behind it, I can see maybe why he did it. But then when it came down to the execution part, which again, that's just it comes with the type of scheme that play with it is if you pull it and you're keyed in on that receiver and you don't see someone drop back or someone jumps a route, I mean it's basically like he didn't even recognize or see it coming. So I can see why that's where he went, but it just came down to the execution part, and Washburn just made a good play on it.
And with the execution, to your point in the opening, there were times where we could have taken control of the football game. There was two that stick out to me the most. We had a 10-point lead. We get the ball coming out the locker room. You feel like we get a touchdown. We get up by 17. We probably break the will of Washburn there. It's going to be very tough for them, given the offensive struggles and a non-short foot that they had in the first half, to be able to mount a comeback. We didn't throw an interception there. Right then, I believe it was, what was it, like late in the third, early in the fourth. Again, we have an opportunity for a 32-yard field goal, make it a two-score game, and we missed the kick. I feel like we can't not capitalize on those. I feel like that was the key to us last year is we capitalized on those chances. And I feel like we haven't seen that yet so far this season. How do you think we go about taking advantage of those opportunities moving forward to better increase our chances when we're playing the Northwest and the Central Missouris and the Fort Hayes of the world? What do we have to do differently? Do you think in order to make the most of those?
I think really just keying in on the details and understanding that every play is not the play, but you have to have the plays to get up to the biggest play. And so that means that we're gonna have to handle the little things. It's not gonna be big chunk plays. It's not gonna be touchdowns every single play, but we have to have those to lead up to that stuff. And I think more so offensively, we have to be able to take time off the clock, but we can't keep putting the defense in those type of positions because I feel like the defense is very good, and I feel like they have very much embodied bend and don't break, given the circumstance that they've been put in. But that just goes to show you that if you give our defense space and make the other team have to drive the length of the football field on them, our defense does a pretty good job about getting off the field. Maybe not so much turnovers, which I think that would probably be the only negative I'd have about the defense is just trying to force more turnovers. But I mean, we're getting sacks, we're creating pressure. I mean, when you have a team that runs for less than 100 yards on you, I feel like that's a very big win for the defense as a whole. And obviously, Washburn, throwing the ball, that's where they had majority of their success at. But it's like when you typically can make teams one dimensional, then it's like you'll see your defense flourish because now you limit their playbook so much. But all that to say, I think it really comes down to Keenan on the small details. I think when it comes to the kicking game, if you were able to kick even just 45-yard field goals, up to about 50-yard field goals, and you're getting points out of your drives, that's always gonna be a big positive. You don't go broke picking up change. And so I think when all three of those come together, I think you'll see the team play way better than what they have shown. But that's the thing, it just has to come together all at the right moment. It can't be you have a good offense and your defense isn't, or you can have a good defense, but then special teams, you guys are getting cribbed on every other kick. So it's like everyone really has to come together and seize the moment and the opportunity when they come to you because we can't just keep giving teams these turnovers and not taking advantage of their mistakes because that's how you get beat. But then even more so, that separates the good teams from the great teams is good teams when they get opportunities, they sometimes capitalize on it. Great teams, they get those opportunities and they capitalize on it every single time.
Yeah, and to your point about the defense, I mean, we held them to 4-14 on third, 1-2 on fourth. We had 4 sacks in the game. Only had 59 yards rushing at 1.9 yards a carry, less than 200 yards passing, only 254 in the game, 14 first downs. Like, again, I mean, if you were just to look at the numbers, you'd be confused as to why Washburn had 28 points. And like I said again, I feel like our defense is good enough to win us football game. It reminds me, like I said, this reminds me of 2022, where I feel like the defense and the ground game is going to have to carry us. And I know you were there because you were on the field for a lot of it. You know, the defense played a huge part in us winning games against Northwest, Central Missouri. I'm trying to think who else. I don't know, the Emporia game. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
to, like that. The defense was the strength of the team that year, and I feel like it's going to be the same this year. I just don't know if offensively, because of all the new faces here, we're about to be in game 4, right? And we're still trying to figure out offensively the pass game, offensively who our receivers are, right? And so I just think we're going to be a defensive team, and in order for that to work, we can't have turnovers. I think 2022, you were there. We did a good job, I think, of not turning the ball over. I think maybe the Washburn game might have been the worst that year, but sure, we had drives where we had to punt, but right, they had to drive the length of the field. Um, Now, are you expecting a better a cleaner game offensively this week. Now that Clayton has that first start, now that the coaches have seen him start, complete a full game. There's film. Do you expect a cleaner outing, or are you going, or do you think we might have a similar type performance? Just given this will be his first road game.
I'm someone that I need to take Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, dang, I don't know what's going on. But yeah, so I think that this is, not the best situation being thrown to as far as being a young quarterback. But then you also look around and it's like receiver wise, not doesn't the receivers don't have too much experience there. Your two tight ends are injured now. You seen Trell, he started having cramps later on in the game, but it's like I seen him bouncing around on the O line. So really, it's hard to predict what type of offense we're going to see. But the thing about it is that with us relying on the defense, we don't have to be spectacular on offense. And kind of like we were alluding to, if we just take care of the ball and drive and get points every time, we're going to win the game. And then if you, as a defense, can hold teams to under, honestly, in this day and age, if you can hold teams to under 30 points, like 24 to 30 points, you have a good chance of winning the game. And so I think offensively, if we take care of the ball and on the miscues that we did have, if we take advantage of that, then I think that we're going to be in a favorable position to win the game. But again, with so many variables, I just haven't seen it yet that I don't want to just blindly say, oh, yes, the offense is going to be firing on full cylinders. It's like, no, I expect there's going to be negativity to happen. We just haven't had that experience, and we're still trying to gain it as we're going with some of the new faces. And so I think it's going to be, I think it's really going to be a defensive struggle, and it's going to come down to who makes the least amount of mistakes, and when you make the mistakes, how costly are they? So it's like, again, turnovers and penalties, if they're at the worst moments in the games, those are killers for you. But if you do have them in a kind of more sporadic or they're not in like critical moments to where you can bounce back from, then they're not as impactful as they could be. So I think it's going to come down to those things on how productive the offense is.
Yeah, you mentioned the penalties. I think that's kind of been a sore spot, right? Because obviously, when the offense is struggling, any setback really hurts, right? With like the false starts. Now we get behind the chains. Then, now we're really having to make up ground, right? Then you go on special teams. We had a good kickoff return. It was called back for a low block, right? Then you go defensively. We had a roughing the passer call. Like we don't have a lot of penalties, but when we do, it's substantial. It either puts us behind the chains on a drive, right? It extends the drive for the other team. It sets us back further when we start drives. How do you think we can reverse this trend of the untimely penalties and have a cleaner execution from that standpoint?
It's really going to come down to practice, and you have to practice these things to be able to perform in the game. And so that means that, hey, probably going up tempo in practice and then trying to draw the defense off sides because that's going to be a drill for both the offense and the defense as well too. Having guys think while being tired, think fast too. So try to run some speed up offense as well with it too. So I think it's going to be something that needs to that they need to drill in practice. But really, it's just people got to lock in and just do their jobs and no more and no less. Um, I think when it comes to the penalties offensively and then some of the once we've had defensively, it's like we don't need those boneheaded penalties anyways, and it's not like it's going to affect the game as much. So it's like the opportunities for you to make plays are going to be there. You don't need to try to make the most out of one moment and end up doing too much. You just have to do your job, play your keys, follow your coaching. I mean, have we won 2 games now in a row. So it's like just trust your coaching, trust your keys, and trust your boys, and it's like good things are going to happen.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like we won 2 games playing nowhere near our best. I felt like even against Pitt, I felt like we still, I guess, given the circumstances, maybe offensively, we did the best we could. I just felt like we haven't seen the team at its best yet. Like I feel like we haven't seen it where offense, defense, and special teams, like you mentioned earlier, like have all played well together for 4 quarters. And it's like you go back to Premier Basin. I thought the defense came to play in that football game. The offense didn't. I look at Pitt State, and there were times I felt like, especially from the pass rush, right? We weren't getting what we should have been getting. And then you go Saturday, and again, it's like the defense to me was ready to play. We put them in a very bad position. The pass game, for the most part, to me was ready to play. But then you look at the struggles we had running the football. What do you think it'll take for us to get that full, all three phases to come together Saturday, and hopefully finally end that streak that we've had of losses in Marysville?
I think if it's really going to come down to your leaders on the team, and it can't come from the coaches because that's their job anyways. They're going to harp on these things. They're going to harp on getting better and fixing the things that we have that we miss upon in the game. So that's already going to be a given. The coaches that they're going to do that. It's really got to be player led. It has to come from your leaders on the team. It's got to come from the guys with the most experience, really being vocal and really putting that pressure on guys to seize the moment, the opportunities that they get, and that you got to be on that. Oh, there is no my bad. It's like we really have to focus in on every single detail and play that we have to be able to come out as successful as we can. And I mean, that's gonna mean like getting on some people, holding people accountable. It's kind of uncomfortable, but for this team to really flourish and take off and really start operating on all cylinders, it has to happen at this point because you've seen where it's like each phase has shown that they can be honestly the best phase on the team, honestly. And so it's like now really trying to bring it together. It's like one is just you have to have experience. It takes time, but it really takes like it being player led and coming from within for it to be the real change that you need for it to be. So I think this week especially, guys really need to take coaching. Guys really need to step up, but then also guys really need to like set goals in mind that hey, I'm not gonna false start at all in practice because I'm being honest, if it's happening in the game this much, then it's probably happening in practice too. So really keying in on the snap count, the play, what you have to do, no bonehead penalties, and really ball security as well too.
Now, who stuck out to you, or which players stuck out to you the most from Saturday's game?
Mm, maybe this is just because this is where my eyes are always at, but like when I watch the game, especially with the view we have, I always start with the like offensive line, defensive line. Um, Really, when you start to watch Trell Lee and then Gabe Grazier, you're just like, them dudes really make some pretty phenomenal plays out there. So, I mean, those are two who I always like where my eyes go to initially. Like I mentioned before, I feel like the two tight ends that stepped up, I feel like they played extremely well, given that they're thrown to this situation as well too. So, the tight ends, I feel like they stuck out to me, and I'm kind of biased on that. Defensively, I mean, Jack Puckett was flying around. I seen him get sacks and just doing Jack Puckett things. Like I said, Joey Javier, someone who hasn't been a starter and hasn't seen a great deal of time. I feel like he came in and played some very crucial minutes to where it's like when he's in the game, bad things weren't just happening. So it's like that's honestly a positive to have. It's like if while you're in the game, good things are happening, you're going to find yourself continuing to play because we need those good things to happen. So I feel like he played great. Connor Johnson, he's always just flying around, just is around the ball. So I mean, those are the people I feel like stuck out the most. It's just like our group O line, D line kind of together because I mean that's where my eyes are initially. But then outside of that, I'd say the tight ends and then the linebackers.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's almost a given that you expect Jack and Connor to be among the. I was impressed with Darius Hampton and Cameron Dunn on the defensive line. I thought Darius, despite getting held way too many times and was not called. Just I feel bad for Darius at this point, but I thought he provided. I thought he provided a really good consistent pass for us. I thought Cameron Dunn did a good job of playing the pass lane. I know he had one deflection, and then I will say in the secondary, I was very pleased with Willie Rice, even though we sort of had that interception. We just going DBs don't have hands, so we I guess got to give them in a pass on that. And
No, no, do not give them passes, okay? Because you and I both know when balls are overthrown and they had no effect on the play, they're the first and the loudest to let you know that you didn't make the play. So when the play comes to them, I need them to make a play. If it hits you in the hands, and listen, I played safety. I was more of a defensive player through high school than I was offense. I don't care if you're out there, you got to have hands.
now, Willie did inform me post game he was going to hit the jugs machine first thing Monday. So now, hopefully, he was on the jugs machine because I was like, Willie. Now, we sure we got to stop, but like, you read the play beautifully here. We got to just make the interception, my man. Like, yeah, the deflection is nice, but we could have had the interception. Like, Willie, like we got to capitalize on that. Like.
That's the money right there, especially for a DB. When the ball hits you like that, like that's money. And then because you're probably one of the fastest on the field, it's like you're gonna take off and you're gonna get the yard. So it's like just seize it, just grab it, just hold on to it.
And then it was unfortunate because the other DB that really stuck out to me that I feel like had a much better game than he did against Pitt State was Marcus Works, and Marcus had an interception. They called it back. So I was like, we just can't win. Either we get the interception and then it's called back, or we have a chance to get the interception and then we don't make the interception. So I just, I don't know. I'm hoping we can get some. I know at least last year, whenever we got substantial pressure on Northwest quarterback Chris Ruhnke, mistakes were made. I know Zion Bell had an interception. I think J.K. Moore had an interception. So hopefully we can corral one. Would be nice. Wrapping it up here. Now I have to ask because now I know you sure you watched some games yesterday and I'm sure you know what I'm about to ask. So I'm concede the floor with you here. How can your Packers rebound from a disappointing loss here?
I'll be honest. I think it is a situation of drinking the Kool-Aid. I feel like we started to think our shit don't stink and we need some reality set back in. It's like, yes, we can be one of the better teams in not just the NFC, but in the league. But it doesn't matter who you play and what quarterback they have. You got to show up every single day, especially once you get to the pros. Everybody's good. I don't care if your team is 0-16. It's like, as a team, they're bad, but it's still good individual play happening that you can't take people lightly. And so, honestly, I would rather it happen to this come from a Browns team versus someone in the division. Just being honest with you, but I I'm always objectively hopeful, and I think that there's a lot of good things to still be hopeful for. It's still early in the season. The loss didn't come from a divisional opponent, so that's helpful in that regards. But I think it's a good reality check to get guys back in line and just realize that, hey, truthfully, we're not as good as we think we are. Because if we were, that game wouldn't have been that low scoring, and it wouldn't have been that close either. So I think I think it'd be a good reality check for the team.
To be fair, there was weird events though yesterday. Like Atlanta, then they were shut out right after somebody was shut out. Right, I think didn't Minnesota score like 48. We had the Bears actually showing life offensively. Like that just was a very weird Sunday. So like I don't know if I'd read too much into. Philly got lucky they blocked again when he field goal. Like that just was a very weird Sunday that I feel like is just uncharacteristic for a lot of teams. Just unfortunate that JB and Peyton and I Steelers won, so I'll take that for whatever it's worth. But yeah, I don't know if Yeah, I don't know if we read too much into that, but that was a very weird. That's a very weird Sunday. Daniel Jones looking like a really good quarterback. Yeah, I don't know. The NFL's weird right now, so but I don't know what's going on. I truly don't. I think Pittsburgh's what 2-1,
Like
3-1.
where
So
where where has he been? Where has he been? Because New York threw him the bag over Saquon, might I add. And when they did, I'm like, how dumb can they be? Because you really think Daniel Jones is going to throw you the wins? I've said that to some of my coworkers because we have a fantasy league going on. I'm like, you think Daniel Jones is going to throw you the wins? And then you let Saquon walk, and then you let him walk. So it was like, that was the dumbest move ever because the two people you was giving money to both left. And now this man turns into a different quarterback. I'm like, where was this before? So I mean, but the NFL is weird because it really is the right situation and system that you're in. Because you seen Baker Mayfield get the Browns to the playoffs and win a playoff game, then he gets shipped around, and you think people start trying to call him a bust. And then now look at him with Tampa Bay. I mean, they haven't been doing all that good, but I feel like he's still a better quarterback than people try to make him out to be. Sam Darnold's another one. So it's like I think it really is just the situation and the right opportunity where you're at. But shout out to him, man.
I think the Giants or the NFC's Cleveland Browns. Like you just don't have success. I mean, because guys, like even watching Russell Wilson. It's just like I don't understand because Russell Wilson was playing good for my Steelers last year. I felt like had you asked Steelers fans this time last year, were you satisfied with the play you were getting out of Russell Wilson? I felt like you would have said yeah. And then I watch him now and I'm like, what is this? Like we just throwing Hail Mary passes deep in triple coverage. Like what are we doing here, Russell? Like I don't know if this is just the Giants thing where like offensively careers just go to die. Like I don't know because you can't tell me that Russell Wilson in less than a year forgot how to be a quarterback. I find it hard to believe. So I'm thinking is the Giants much like Cleveland, where you see guys leave Cleveland have substantially better careers. Maybe the Giants have entered that territory now. Sure, you could point to Saquon, but I mean, obviously Philly is extremely good as well. But I think Daniel Jones is a good example. Like, I mean, the Colts aren't a great team. What we're saying, this is the Danny Dimes that I'm sure the Giants were hoping they would get when they gave him the contract. But also, when you give him some receivers and a decent offensive line and not Jason Garrett as your coordinator, then I guess good things can possibly happen to you. So, I don't. I have nothing against Danny Dimes, but I mean, I just find this funny for the Giants fans, and then and obviously it's you don't want to kick a team while they're down, but this is bad for Dallas at this point.
No. I believe in being brutally honest. Um, yeah, Russell Wilson. I don't get like the Steelers don't make sense because I felt like Justin Fields last year for the games he played in played pretty well enough to say, hey, he can stay here. But then they decided to go Russ, and like you said, Russ didn't play bad. So then between those two, you guys don't want to keep either. So I'm like, all right, whatever. Then your best target, Pickens, you let him go to Dallas for I don't even know who you guys got in return, but then you bring in DK. So it's like the types of moves that y'all are trying to make, it's not making a whole lot of sense to me. Then you got Cam Hayward, who's upset that he's not getting paid, which is like, I mean, he's a vet and he's been All Pro and Pro Bowl, so it's like, I don't know. But then you let Mika Fitzpatrick leave again.
I mean,
Like
well,
it don't make sense to me.
okay, now the George Pickens trade made complete sense. It is a contract year. Given George Pickens, let's just say, um, emotional
Antics.
outburst when balls are not thrown his direction, that did not surprise me. So that I saw coming. The Cam Hayward thing is more of like Cam, you're in your mid to late 30s, my guy. Like, we're not going to give you long-term deals. It's just nature of the beast. He still wants long-term deals. It wasn't one of those where it's like, nah, we just don't want you. We don't want to pay you. It's like, you're too old to be giving you like 4-year deals. So that, I'm not surprised that drug on for they just gave him a ton of money. Now, the quarterback situation was a very contentious point the whole offseason for Steelers fans. You had a contingent that was lobbying to keep Justin Fields. You had a contingent that was saying, okay, we shouldn't pay Justin Fields what the open market's going to demand. Let's just sign back Russell Wilson and draft somebody. Then you had the contingent that said we need an upgrade in general. Let's go out and find somebody. Then you had the contingent that was like it's Aaron Rodgers or bust. Then you had that other contingent that once it got to the point where it was brutally obvious it was Aaron Rodgers or bust. You had a contingent that was like, I don't care. Well, I would rather have Mason Rudolph as my quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. It was a very interesting offseason from that perspective. I will say, Aaron Rodgers through what, four games has surprised me. I thought the man was washed. I truly did. I know Thomas Webb Jr. Saturday, Thomas Webb Jr. He was happy with the signing. I can't remember if Pete Scotty was or not. I was hesitant, but I'm like, he was on the Jets. Do we expect anything from the Jets? No. Okay, so you're getting the benefit of the doubt. Then I'm like, our offensive line is not great. The man's 40. He come for torn Achilles. Like, I don't know how this is looking. And the man's look good. I give him his credit. So I hope this can continue because, again, we don't really have any other options. I mean, again, there's Mason Rudolph, who, no, I've never been the biggest Mason Rudolph fan. I mean, I guess he's serviceable. I guess. I don't know. I mean, I think we've got Will Howard, who there's a contingent of Pittsburgh fans that are thinking he's the next Ben Roethlisberger. I'm like, wait a minute, let's not get hasty here. Okay, like just because he's a big, strong arm quarterback, let's just not immediately anoint him as the guy. Now, I'd appreciate it if that was the case now, but like,
Hey,
there was a
Big
six
Ben was
rounder. Like,
good early on, though. Big Ben was good early on, though. That's the difference with some of those older quarterbacks and the new quarterbacks. I allow giving quarterbacks grace to get into their prime and not expect them to be so good early on. But Big Ben was pretty good early on, and I think he won a Super Bowl. Was it his first or second year starting?
yeah, something like that. Yeah, because he took over for, was it Tommy Maddox? No, Tommy Maddox.
Yeah, but then it's like I don't know. In my opinion, what is so wrong with trying to run it back so that way you have a one option, but then his backup is good too, and they both show that they can run the offense and have success. So it's like I get maybe Justin Fields probably didn't want to be a backup, but like you said, Aaron Rodgers played good, so not trying to knock him again. That was my guy for the longest. Like I'll rocks with him, but at the same time, it's like you have to go what the film showed you, and what the film showed was that based off last year, Fields and Russell Wilson played better than Aaron Rodgers did last year for that team. Now, even though he's getting started early and he has been playing pretty good, so we'll have to wait till the end of the season to really tell which one operated the offense better. But I feel like go based off of what you've seen, and I feel like it should have even been one of those two before they go to Aaron Rodgers.
I didn't think Field was the legitimate option, just given he was so young. And notice Pittsburgh is a very cheap franchise. And I don't know if they were 100% committed to him being the guy enough to warrant a long-term substantial contract. So that I wasn't surprised. The Russell Wilson thing to me was kind of surprising because I thought that was the likely outcome was we'll just re-sign Russ again and then draft somebody. And I think Russ was the backup plan, even though he was saying like, "Hey, I want to resign." Pittsburgh was almost like, "Yeah, we know that, and we see that, and we'll sign you if our plan A doesn't work." And I think at some point Russell Wilson realized that and signed with the Giants, which is there had to have been another option besides the Giants, but I digress. But so like that's where I thought it was headed. Was we'll just sign Russell Wilson back, and then we'll draft somebody. But I didn't have Aaron Rodgers signing with Pittsburgh on the bingo card. I truly didn't, and yet here he is. So I went from cheering against him in the Super Bowl to now, I guess, having to cheer for him now. Like I don't know. This is very weird. Like I'm not against the man. I mean, I always said I only care whenever we played against him. So like I didn't have him the division
Mm-hmm.
every year. Like I didn't have this feeling one way or another, other than like, is the man washed? Because if the man is washed, then we're doing a great disservice to our defense. And so like again, I'm glad, maybe he's a good fit for Arthur Smith's offense. I just I don't know. I just haven't. It's been tough for Pittsburgh, but this is their own doing because we knew for how many years we needed to get a young quarterback to groom from Big Ben retirement, and we kept putting it off and putting it off, and then the man retires, and now we're stuck with a draft where the top quarterbacks from Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett, and it's just a lose-lose. But you're forced to draft one, so we're like, all right, we'll go with the safe pick. We'll go with Kenny Pickett. At least we saw him play. It was in the same facility. And now we see where Kenny Two Gloves is now. So, it was our own doing. I'm hoping Will Howard pans out. That'd be a fantastic story. We get a 6th-round pick that becomes the guy. Worst case, he becomes a long-term backup. That would be much appreciated. But at some point, we're going to have to take a quarterback, ideally in the 1st round. And, we haven't done it in like 20 years. So you just hope it's the right one. But I don't know. I guess I have faith in, Omar Khan, I guess. I mean, so far, most of the moves have worked out. I never thought I'd see the day where we would trade for a guy like DK Metcalf. So that in itself, I never thought we actually would move up a draft board. We usually just move down a draft board. So, that's surprising. Us going BPA in drafts, like when we picked Darnell Washington, wasn't a need, but obviously was a really good player. So I was surprised by that pick. So maybe there's a new era in Pittsburgh. I genuinely do not know. I'm just here for the vibe. So as long as we keep winning and Mike Tomlin can keep his standard as the standard. We never had a losing season and under my watch. Then hey, we'll take it because I mean we kind of know. I mean we're not gonna do anything. I would like to win a playoff game. If you give me one playoff win, I'll be satisfied. I don't need a run. I don't need a AFC championship. Just give me one wild card win, and I will take that. That's all I ask at
I
this
was, I was
point.
about I was about to ask you, how do you feel about Mike Tomlin still being the guy? Because I'm someone that's like, how hard it is to win football games. I never thought I'd see a day where we knock a coach for winning. Now, granted, has he had the success in the postseason? No. So I think that's fair. But it's like, if y'all ship him out, you seen what happened with the Bears? The last time they shipped out a winning coach, they've still been in poverty. So it's like, in a market where it's hard to find good, long term, reliable head coaches, and it seems like it's the fan base too. Why is the fan base so loud about wanting to move on from someone who's done nothing but been successful to you guys, and they haven't had you on purgatory like how Cincinnati used to, or even Cleveland did. You're not the Jets. You're not Miami. So it's like it could be a whole lot worse to be a Steeler now.
Okay, okay. I'll say it now. It's a small segment of the fan base that happens to be with some of the loudest, right? Because if you go on any Steelers social media after we lose again, oh, it's time for Tomlin to go. Tomlin's lost his touch, yada yada yada. Okay, but no one wants to look at the fact of what is it, 6 straight playoff losses? Okay, how many of those, with the exclusion of the Cleveland Browns, which we should have won that playoff game, we were severely overmatched. We were always on the road. We were always injured. As a matter of fact, against the Bills, we had Miles Jack and was it Eric Rowe starting off practice squad. They were on the couch like 3 weeks prior. So I was like, I don't know what you want the man to do. We're going into Buffalo with Mason Rudolph as our starting quarterback and Miles Jack and Eric Rowe starting on defense, and we give him a game for 4 quarters. Like, what do you want here? Like, we acting like he had a full deck. If you're Pittsburgh, you're either hurt at the beginning of the year, we then get healthy, make a mad dash, he can do a wild card run, okay, play the top seed loose. Or we start off really good and healthy, we get hurt, barely hold on, make a wild card, severely overmatched, lose. The last time Mike Tomlin went into a playoff game with a full roster was unfortunately when we lost to Cleveland at home. I will concede that was a terrible loss. That might have been honestly the most disappointing I've ever been in Mike Tomlin. Like how we just do that. But like the vast majority of time, we're hanging on by a thread. Like I get the fact that yes, we would like to win a playoff game. I truly concede that. Yes, you feel like we're wasting the twilight of Cam Hayward's career. We're wasting the prime of TJ Watt's career. Right? We were wasting Minkah Fitzpatrick. Okay, I understand that. I truly do. But if we look at the circumstances, I don't know what else the man could do. I mean, the fact that he led Pittsburgh to the playoffs one year, what was it? With like Devil and Duck Hodges starting like 5 games. Yeah, we had Big Ben who could barely throw a slant. Like you tell me, name me 5 of the coaches that could have achieved success with the offensive coordinator of Matt Canada, which is a handicap in itself. You tell me how many coaches would have been able to navigate that in the division that we're in. So see, that's the problem with the small segment of Pittsburgh fans. You're like, you don't understand how good we have. Okay? Like, go ask Cleveland, go ask Chicago, go ask, go ask Dallas. They gotta do. Just go ask the Cowboys fan. How do you feel about the coaches the past 15 years? You know, and I'm like, we could do a whole lot worse. And if we ever did, for some unknown reason, decide to part ways with Mike Tomlin, I doubt he would last 3 days. Like, you know how many teams would just offer this man?
No.
It makes no sense. And so that's the one gripe I have about Steelers fans. It's like after every loss, it's like the sky is falling. It's like you not understand where we are here. You're acting like it's 2008 and we have Jerome Bettis and William Parker and Santonio Holmes and James Harrison and Troy Polamalu and I don't know Alan Faneca and I don't know who else we had. All right, it's like but we don't have that. We have I don't know. We have Mason Rudolph starting games. We have Devlin Duck Hodges starting. What do you want the man to do? Like he's literally winning games with bailing wire. Like just I just don't, like it's like I get it from a frustration standpoint. Like yes, you want us to see do better. You feel like we should be doing better, but again, we could do a whole lot worse. And again, I appreciate the fact that I can always say, you know, when someone tells me or asks, well, like what have the Steelers done, you know, lately? I can simply just ask, you tell me when's the last losing season your team had? And that usually ends any argument right there because be like, I can't tell you the last time we had a losing season. I think it was
Or or you just ask them this. Could your carousel of coaches have been able to handle Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, Pouncey, along with James Harrison? I'm pretty sure I'm missing out on people, and this ain't even my team. All of those characters at the same time, bro. And knowing what they went on to be in just their own personalities. Who is doing that? No one else. That's why you keep them, is because when you do get the talent, you need someone to be able to manage it and keep it in check, and it's not fake. They better not move on from him. And then you see, if Pittsburgh moves on from Mike Tomlin, y'all will become the Chicago Bears. And Baltimore will become the Green Bay Packers. Tell me That is a perfect comparison. If y'all
Well,
move
okay,
on from Mike Tomlin in the next 2 years, y'all will become the Chicago Bears.
no. See, fortunately, we're owned by the great Rooney family, who has great knowledge and understanding of the game. And I would have to believe that I can't remember which Rooney it is now that's the owner. Okay, would not let go of Mike Tomlin unless Mike Tomlin simply said, "All right, it's just time for me to retire. I've had a good run." I can't see them forcing him out because see, the Rooneys are realists. They understand where we're at. They understand the situation here. And they've been on record saying various times that they've been very pleased with Mike Tomlin because, again, what do you want the man to do? And I think we've seen now that we've got Omar Khan and that we've been more aggressive, right? Because I don't think under Kevin Colbert we would never have made a trade for DK Metcalf. We would have never have made a run for Aaron Rodgers. We would never have gone BPA in the actual draft. So, like, you see them trying to give him a better opportunity. And at least so far, we've seen that through 3 games. So I'm hoping that it can continue. I'm hoping that your Packers turn it around, if nothing more, just so I can laugh more at Cowboys fans who are miserable right now because Michael Parsons is going off, and the defense for Dallas right now is terrible.
In
So
paradise. That's what he's in paradise, and he loves it. He would rather go up north to the ice cold than be down south in Dallas and deal with that mess. If that tells you anything.
That's what I'm saying. So, just for that alone, I would love to see Green Bay have success because, again, I just, you just, like, I feel bad for the Cowboys fans that are actual fans, but, man, it is kind of funny, though. You're not going to lie to you. Like, it's funny. I take great joy in it, but, well, listen, we're going to hope that, come Saturday, UCO defeats their version of a bear mascot and defeats the Bearcats down there in Marysville. And I'm hoping, when we go to, is it Fort Hayes after that? Is it Fort Hayes after that? Who we have after? Let me see it. When we go into if the page would load, would be lovely. If
Central
we go
Missouri after then
into
Fort Hayes.
Central Missouri, okay, yes. If we can go into Central Missouri at 3-1, 3-0 in conference, that would be big. So I'm hoping that that's the case. I'm hoping we get a cleaner game and we're able to get a sufficient run game for 4 quarters. We kind of clean the things up turnover-wise, and then we don't put the defense in a short field. Because Northwest is a very impressive team this year. We get to play our former offensive lineman, Reese Tram. I think he's starting for Northwest. So it'll be an interesting game there. So I'm looking forward to it. That is a 1:30 p.m. kickoff down there in Marysville. That'll be on the MIAA network. That's what I will be watching. So for my co-host from the All-MIAA H-back, Daunte McGee, I'm Jonathan Goudeau, a.k.a. Jay Smooth. We appreciate you tuning in to the 3rd installment of the Weekly Cho. We will talk to you all this time next week. And as always, roll Chos.